Man gunned down at traffic light moments after arriving in Jamaica. A Jamaican man who had just arrived on the island from a trip overseas was gunned down at a traffic light on his way home from the airport on Tuesday. The deceased has been identified as 48-year-old Ron Campbell of a St. James address. Reports are that Campbell, who had just arrived on the island on a Panama flight, chartered a JUTC tour taxi from the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. It is reported that upon reaching a traffic light at the intersection of Sir Florizel Gaspol Highway and Winward Road in St. Andrew, a Toyota Probox stopped on the passenger side of the chartered taxi and an occupant alighted from it and immediately opened gunfire. Campbell sustained gunshot wounds to the upper region of his body. The culprit then escaped. The incident happened about 3:20 p.m. The police are investigating. Policeman and inmate injured in Kingston Central lockup disturbance. The Inspectorate and Professional Standard Oversight Bureau and the Independent Commission of Investigations have launched probes into the injury of a policeman and an inmate during a reported disturbance at the Kingston Central Police Lockup on Tuesday. It's reported that the incident occurred about 9:20 p.m. after the police confiscated several illegal items. Police personnel attempted to control the situation, during which a police constable was injured on his left ear. One inmate suffered a hand injury during the melee. Both men were taken to hospital for medical attention. Policemen accused of Winward Road killing remanded. The bail hearing for two policemen charged for the recent shooting death of two men and a teenage boy along Winward Road in Kingston was deferred to January 27 next year in the Home Circuit Court. Corporal Mark Roy and Constable Kelby White were consequently remanded on 3 counts each of murder, using a firearm to commit a felony, and discharge of firearm in a public place. The men were charged on November 17 in relation to the fatal shooting of 19-year-old Ocean Stubbs, 19-year-old Orlando Campbell, and 20-year-old Kashawn Smith on November 10. They are also jointly charged with 2 counts of perverting the court of justice. Roy is being represented by attorney at law Peter Champney KC, while White is being represented by attorney Althea Grant. St. Catherine Police urged to be more efficient in how they handle permits for events in areas deemed crime hotspots. The St. Catherine Police are being chastised for how permits for parties are being denied due to issues with crime in certain areas. Mayor of Spanish Town Norman Scott said promoters are required to apply to the police for permission 10 days prior to the proposed date for the staging of an event. He said the police are in turn required to respond to the application within reasonable time. This includes within time to lodge an appeal if the permission is denied. Mayor Scott said the problem is that the police wait until the last minute to notify the promoters of being denied. He wants the police to be more efficient in how they handle permits for events in areas deemed hotspots.
They have intelligence as it relates to areas and criminal activities, but I don't think that they should penalize the citizens for some criminal activities. It is not right because people spend millions of dollars to put on these events, and it is unfair. And one of the problems that entails there is that the police, they wait until the last day to tell the promoters that they don't get the license. The law says you must apply 10 days before. The response must come within due time that the promoter can know if the event has been denied. They can appeal to the Commissioner of Police. And if the Commissioner of Police denies it, then there is a third appeal, which is the minister. That's the law, the Night Abatement Act. And also, there is the area where you can request additional time, extension of time, which is under the Ministry of Culture. So you must get again adequate time if you want to go and apply for an extension of time.
Opposition urges government to carefully monitor public sector salary to GDP ratio. Opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson says the government has to manage the pace at which salaries growth in relation to economic growth. He was reacting to a recent suggestion to cap wages and salaries at a percentage of the country's gross domestic product, GDP. The proposal was made by the outgoing president of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Keith Duncan. At the final quarterly meeting of the EPOC, Mr. Duncan said wages and salaries accounted for 12.8% of the GDP this year, an increase from 9% in April last year. This was due to the new compensation system implemented by the government. Mr. Robinson says he understands the principle of the proposal. The spokesman says he does not believe the intention was to impact current negotiations.
What I would say is that any government has to manage the pace at which salaries grow in relation to your economic growth. So even if you don't have a hard target, which existed before but was removed a couple of years ago, it is something that you have to monitor, because if wages are running ahead of economic growth, you're going to have a problem, and it is going to prevent the government from spending on capital projects and other investments which are necessary. So what I would say, I understand the principle of what Keith Duncan is saying, and even if there isn't a hard target, any government has to manage the pace at which the wages are growing relative to economic growth. Well, I think it was his last role as chairman of EPOC, and I think that was the context in which he made the remarks. I don't think it was intended to influence any ongoing negotiations. And frankly, the issues with the junior doctors have existed for probably a year or two. I mean, they're unresolved issues, which I think arise from the compensation review. To be fair to him, I think he was speaking as head of EPOC at their last official sitting of EPOC, because EPOC now transitions to the Independent Fiscal Council. So I don't think his intention was to influence any ongoing negotiations.
Big push for road safety in Irwin. Rail sidewalks and rumble strips are among measures being mulled to make getting to and from school safer for students at Iring Primary and High Schools in St. James, where 7th grader Diana Solomon was run over by a bus last Wednesday as classmates struggled to get into position and board the vehicle. It's a complete improvement in the area that we are conceptualizing, Mayor of Montego Bay Council Richard Vernon told reporters. On Monday, he joined members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and other stakeholders on the walkthrough of the Thurtwas Peggy Road route, which students have been taking for years. The road from the school's shared campus to Tokamin Road is often significantly narrowed in many sections by heavy bush on both sides. One side about hilly terrain, and the other there is a steep drop. Students and motorists dangerously compete for use of the road each day. In order to make significant improvements to the area to enhance walkability, we have to do excavation. We would have to do an excavation of the banking, installation of sidewalks, along with rails, to provide the walkability for students and other persons using the roadway, the mayor explained. He said debushing would only be a first step. If we clear the bushing along Peggy Road, you would see more banking, not necessarily more road, because it is not the bush that is in the banking directly, but more so the banks of the hill itself that is along the roadway, Vernon explained. The bush provides a bit more bulkiness in the banks, but if you clear it, you will see more banks and not more road. We need more road, and we need more space to provide the appropriate walking area, he added. According to the mayor, Pega Road is essentially the responsibility of the St. James Municipal Corporation, as it is part of the local road network. It is located in the Sprintmount division of St. James, represented by Councillor Yvonne Graham, a part of the St. James Eastern constituency, which is represented by Edmund Bartlett. Vernon said it will take a significant sum to put the changes being proposed, and he is hoping the funds can be sourced outside the municipal corporation. We will have to speak with the Jamaica Social Investment Fund to see how they can help us to implement the Safe School Zone within the area, he explained. He said the expertise of the National Works Agency will also be required. We may install rumble strips to see key areas, but that is dependent on the recommendation coming out of a detailed assessment of the area as to where are the best places to install the rumble strips. They will need the support of the National Works Agency, the mayor told reporters. He said Irwin High and Primary will also have a role to play. The schools are now actually looking at how they can repurpose a significant piece of property in between both campuses, the primary campus and the high school campus, Vernon revealed. They have a responsibility now to come up with a design in partnership with some other stakeholders who are competent in that field for a terminal for drop-off and pick-up for both primary and high school students in the morning and afternoon, he added. The mayor said the school have already implemented some additional safety measures as they await next steps for the measures now being explored. In the meantime, the school are managing and movement of students as best as possible, quilting them so that they can move towards the transportation in an orderly way. This is the immediate step that the school has taken, stated Vernon. Diana died at hospital less than a day after she was run over by a Montego Bay Metro bus near the school gate. The bus system was expanded to the community earlier this year, a move welcomed by the school and the wider Iring community. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.